set up. Okay, hi everybody. My name is RenChan from Curvy Kitty Cosplay. Thank you guys so much for coming to STOCC 2020. All the girls and I are very grateful for all of you being able to attend. This has really taken a lot out of everybody, both physically and mentally. And we are just glad that we were able to do something fun for you guys so you can get that con experience, even though we're not really going to conventions right now. But I want to welcome you to my panel and tell you a little bit about me and a little bit what we're going to talk about today. So this is the posing panel. Like I said, I am RenChan from Curvy Kitty. I am the co-founder of Curvy Kitty from back in 2014, originally with La Quinta, and then we added Luna later on. And we are a positive body image cosplay group. I've been a cosplayer for quite some time now, over 7 years. It says 6 years on there, but I've been updated. I will tell you too, we have done multiple panels, multiple conventions, including Anime St. Louis, Anime Senpai, most of the time related around body positivity, group cosplaying, cosplay posing, which is what we're going to talk about today, things like that. I've also been a judge, guest judge for KawaCon, 2016 I think it was. It's been a hot minute. And then also we were judges for the St. Louis Crystal Fair a couple years back as well. I will tell you that our message is to spread positivity in the community, not just for body positive stuff for like plus size people and other body types, but also we want to spread the message that cosplay is for everyone, cosplay equality, regardless of sexual orientation, race, body type, all those things. Everyone should be allowed to cosplay. Cosplay should be an inclusive thing, not an exclusive thing. So that's something that we promote and that we want you guys to also take home with you too after everything. So first thing we're going to talk about, so after all, this is a posing panel, so let's actually talk about posing stuff. So the first thing, which is going to sound kind of like a no-brainer, is picking your character. I will tell you this is very important though when you're thinking about posing, because certain poses, if you're not comfortable with, or maybe you might need to do some more research on certain poses, that could be kind of important when you're picking your character out. Obviously, if you're not comfortable with sexy poses, the last thing you would want to do is pick a hypersexual character. Or if you're not comfortable with doing really like burly man poses, maybe you shouldn't be picking a hyper masculine male, things like that. Definitely another thing you want to keep in mind too is, are your poses going, I can't talk today, are your poses going to be canon poses, like the canon Sailor Moon pose, or are they going to be just like your own posing that you just, you want to do your own posing, you want to do your own thing. Is it going to be canon? Is it going to be original? Whatever. Is it going to be something that you have decided to do? I will tell you too, you also want to pay attention to personality types. When it comes to your characters, if you are playing a really mean character or like an evil character, the last thing you want to do is be like, you want to be like, and like, you want to give those mean faces, mean character stuff. If you have a really goofy character, really, really goofy stuff, you want to represent that in your character choice. And then, like I said, take those traits, make them your own, do what you want to do too. So you can also reimagine a character too. Like if you have a character who is super goofy, but you want to see what they would be like serious, feel free to do that. After all, these are just suggestions. They're not at all anything me telling you absolutely have to pose like this for things. I will tell you that one thing I'm going to preach to everyone, no matter what we're talking about, is practice makes perfect. When you are practicing constantly with your posing, whether it's in a mirror, like selfies and stuff like that, or you're enlisting help with friends, it's really important because this is going to teach you how you look in your cosplay, how your body looks, how the fabric's laying, things like that. Like I said, character poses. The more you practice it, the more you're comfortable. Like I'm wearing cheerleader version of Sabrina from the Chilling Adventures of Sabrina from Netflix. I'm going to back up a little bit here so you can see me. So obviously with this cosplay, I would want to be doing some really active, cheer poses, want to make sure that my stuff's not like bunched up funny. I would want to make sure that my collar is laying correctly, things like that, so when you're doing posing, when you're thinking about these things, that's something that if you do repetitively, you will just intuitively know to fix those things. Like it's kind of like a muscle memory type thing. And another thing I will encourage, which I know La Quinta would be totally on board for because she's our selfie queen, is take lots of selfies. The more selfies you take, the more you can figure out what angles look good for you. Most people, it's the above angle. You can also figure out like how your wig is looking. Like with mine, like I have these sideburns right now because we're all in quarantine, can't get anything cut. Um, but you figure out like what looks good and what doesn't look good. Like dead on, I would know I'd be good, but like if I turn, stuff like that. So when you're doing your selfies, that's going to teach you that kind of stuff. Also, I always highly recommend for cosplayers that you get a full length mirror, and the reason is because posing, which we're going to learn here in a few slides, posing is more than just what's going on here. Posing is your whole body. So if your whole body isn't engaged in the pose, sometimes it can kind of look a little flat and kind of look a little like high school yearbook. No. Too many people worry about like just this area and don't pay attention to the rest of their body, and so they have these really great faces but lackluster bodies. So it's definitely something that you want to pay attention to. I will tell you that another good thing that you can do about posing is asking your photographer. Your photographer can see you through their camera lens. If you're paying to have a photography shoot, especially like a really nice photography shoot like you'd get with Mouzycat Cosplay Photographer, or God, there's just so many of them, I could go on forever. But anyway, if you're paying for a nice shoot, you definitely want to make sure that you look nice. Well, your photographer, even if you've practiced poses at home and you've done your selfies and everything looks great, if your photographer is your photographer's in a different position than you were in. So they're going to have a different perspective maybe than you will. Ask them, is this laying right? I'm worried, I'm concerned because this was not laying funny, or this was laying funny before. I want to make sure that that's not the case. Also bring friends. I will tell you, anytime you do a shoot, whether it's a regular shoot or whether you do a shoot as a group, bring friends. 2 heads are better than 1. Your friend may be able to think of poses, but also spot problems. Like they're just overall, in general, a good idea to have with you. Excuse me guys, for some reason my allergies are like crazy. So here is my favorite thing. We're going to go over what I call the cosplay anatomy, or posing anatomy. And this is important because I kind of break down, and again, I'm no expert in this field, but I break down for you kind of head to toe what I mean by posing, what kind of ideas you should be thinking about, stuff like that, just to kind of give you a literal overall look and view over it. I will be honest with you, we could go on for days about every little section, but I'm just going to keep it sweet and simple, kind of to the point right now. So obviously from head down, the first important thing is your head overall, your face, your neck, and my favorite thing, chin. So this is obviously, like I said, a lot of people do already pay attention to this area, but I'm going to tell you why it's important, some thoughts that maybe you hadn't had already before when it comes to your posing. Your whole face when you pose is important. If you leave out parts of your face, it may not make sense. Like if you can see Cypher Noir in this photo here, they are doing chompette, and chompette's really like aggressive, fun, that kind of thing. If only part of Cypher Noir's face was acting to that, and like everything else was kind of flat, you wouldn't understand. Like if they had mean eyes, that does not come off the same way as, you get what I'm saying. I can't do it as good as they can, but you catch my drift. So you want to make sure that you're acting with your whole face. Posing is kind of like acting just with stills. I will tell you right now, if you don't do anything with your face and you just do that looks kind of dull and a little bit lifeless. So you definitely want to incorporate some other movement to your face than just the standard high school yearbook photo, that kind of thing. I will tell you this though, if you were doing a pose, or even if you're not doing a pose, that's causing tension, especially like in these muscles here, in your cheek muscles, in your jaw muscles to the side here, that's going to make you look like you're really uncomfortable. So my recommendation is to relax those muscles, especially in between. Like if you're doing like a snarl like Cypher Noir is, and you're like really like working these muscles over here, and if you're taking like 800 photos, that's eventually going to get, like, have you ever smiled like a lot, like at a family gathering where everybody's taking pictures and by the end of the day your face hurts? It's that same kind of concept. So in between photos, make sure you're kind of stretching it out, make sure you're relaxing your face. All those kind of things can help cut down on that pained or look that you could have. Another thing that a lot of people don't consider too is whenever like they take cosplay photos, they want to look dead at the camera, which I'm going to have trouble with all this panel because my camera's up in the corner, but I want to look at the screen so I can see what I look like, because I'm, not a narcissist, not really, but Anyway, the fact of the matter is that your eyes are really important as well. Obviously, you don't want to just have photos that are dead on straight looking at the camera. You want to have other photos where you're looking off to the side or you're looking down. But I'm going to teach you that there's a right and a wrong way. In a way, like I said, you could do your own thing. But in my opinion, there's a right and a wrong way to do looking up and looking down. So when you want to look up, like you don't want to look like that, and you don't want to look like that, because what you're seeing is most of the white of my eye. And if you're going for like a cute little, oh, I'm like waiting for Prince Eric, Ariel, to come back to me or whatever, that's not going to look good when you look like you're possessed because all you can see is the whites of your eyes. So what I always recommend doing is instead of like when you're looking over, you're going and like having mostly whites of your eyes, instead of looking all the way over, to wherever you're looking, try just looking kind of forward but slightly up. So this will cause more of the actual iris part, the colored part of your eye, to be visible. And so you still get that look of someone looking up at something, but you lose that demon, crazy, wide-eyed thing. And that's the same thing that can happen to looking down as well. You can lose your eyeball. And like if you want just your eyelids, that can be really pretty. But if you have like that half open, like, trust me, just pay attention to your eye placement. If you can't see yourself because you can't practice or whatever, ask your photographer. Your photographer will be able to tell you if you got the wide eye thing going on or if you have, your irises are fully visible. Another thing, like I said, we already talked about mouth. That's important. My biggest and most pained thing I ever have to deal with is because I am a plus size girl, I have like a little bit of a, not as much as I used to, but I have a little bit of a double chin, which I would have never worn this before I've lost some weight. But doesn't matter what your body type is. I can give you some tricks to help kind of make this a little bit slimmer and more defined so you can see your jaw. So what you're going to remember is that your chin should never be like this. This makes, if you can see, this makes that, it's very unattractive. And that happens to a lot of people, not just bigger people, but thin people can have that happen too. People with extra skin, older people, like, trust me, it's a universal issue, unfortunately. One thing you can do is you kind of want to give your chin a lift and a pull. And what I mean by that is instead of having like down like this where you can see like it's all that, what you're going to do is you're going to want to pull your chin up and away from your chest, away from your clavicles and your chest, and you want to pull it out. And I know that that looks at first really weird, but if I was taking a photo, you would never know that I was doing that. And then look from the side how that chin looks compared to, see the difference? Like, what that's doing is it's bringing the skin and anything that's down here, it's kind of pulling it up and then out. So it's stretching that away from itself so it's not mushing together and looking marshmallowy, melty wonderfulness. It gives that chin an opportunity to not just blend in with the rest of your flesh on your chest, which makes you look heavier. Move your neck. Another thing, not just your head, but like your neck. If you want, sorry I wore a turtleneck, so it's hard to see, but moving your neck around.
Right now, I'm using my forces.
All that stuff is going to give you a different look to your photos. If you just have a straight on up and down neck, especially if you keep your neck stiff, that's going to look stiff. But if you have the soft neck turn, neck up, like that kind of thing, it gives a more softer look, especially like if you're doing princessy photos or cute girl, magical girl photos, stuff like that. So you definitely want to make sure that you move your neck around and get into it. Shoulders are also really important. This is because your shoulders are representative of your posture and kind of almost your, what do I want to say? Your, God, I can't think. I'm sorry. Your pride or your confidence, there it is, confidence in yourself. So if your shoulders are real stooped down, you're going to look either uncomfortable or you're going to look sad or you're going to look like sheltered, like you don't want anybody to touch you. That's totally fine if that's what you're going for in the photos. Actually, I would prefer that if that's what you're going for in the photos, if you have specific characters that works with. If you are not, though, and you're supposed to be like All Might, and you're supposed to be, really, ready to go, all that kind of stuff, definitely you want to make sure that your shoulders are pulled back and up. So that way, not only do you give, like, you pull your chest up if you're a girl, but also like it gives you a more confident appearance. Look how much more confident, even though I'm not, but look how much more confident I look when my shoulders up than when I'm like this. It right here looks a little different than up here. It looks a little bit more cleaner. I just like it more. Trust me, you will notice a difference in your photos. Speaking of chest, the next thing we're going to talk about is the chesticle area. Whether you're a guy or a girl, it's another good thing to kind of do the thing with the shoulders and the chest and kind of pull, lift back. That's not only going to accentuate if you are, either wearing a chest piece or you have actual breasts that you're trying to, accentuate for whatever costume you're playing with. That's going to be important because you don't want to look like you're all like hunched down and like you have boobs that have been deflated like balloons. So you definitely want to make sure those guys are up and doing the thing. Another thing I will tell you too that will also help with not only the posture stuff but also help kind of keep things more tight is sucking in a little bit when you're taking your photos. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not suggesting that you suck yourself into the point where you like cannot breathe or that you look uncomfortable. You definitely just want to do a little bit, just because I know like when we're all just hanging out and relaxing, like we can get that little like roll because we're like, I'm tired, I've taken 18 photos already and we've been here for 2 hours, so what are we doing? But no, I definitely suggest sucking in a little bit because that will give you not only the little bit more confidence look, but also slim down things. And if you're not lucky enough to have a photographer who will edit a slim down for you, if that's what you want, then that's going to be really important to keep in mind. Next thing is the arms. The arms. Placement with your arms is key. If you are doing specific characters, it can make or break a picture depending on what your arms are doing. If your arms are real close like this, not only do I look uncomfortable, but like if this wasn't the same color, like if I was just wearing this underneath shirt, like you'd lose what if this is breast and what if this is arm. It wouldn't make sense. But if I pull my arms out a little bit and I do like a Sabrina look like this, you can see movement. Not only that, but you can also like they don't disappear into each other. Your arms can help you present movement. Like if I'm just like, or if I'm just like, that's a cute little pose or whatever, but like doing this, like I could be doing magic like Elsa does, or, getting ready to punch, or all those arm placements and hand placements, I can't talk, is another thing. They're not just for prop holding, ladies and gentlemen, and they are for everything. Like they're everything. They will be delicate and soft if you're trying to do a delicate soft pose. They can be really, like I said, fist in the air, hyper-masculine, growly, like, I'm about to scratch your eyes out, like if you're trying to be super aggressive. Those types of things can help. Now, I will tell you, with your hands, you can also have that broken hand appearance where someone's like posing like this, and you're like, I don't know what that's supposed to be, but like if you want it to be soft, you have to learn to relax this wrist area here, and you have to learn how to pose and not look so stiff and broken. So definitely that is one thing I do definitely recommend that you practice with. Like if you can see YomuChan here in the photo, she is playing with the gray stuff and holding her cup, and she looks very relaxed, natural doing it. It doesn't look necessarily like she was posed. It looks like she was doing it and the photographer took a picture. Now, that's the kind of look you want to go for. You don't want to look like you stood there and like waited for them to take a shot. You kind of almost want it to look like the shot happened because they just happened to be snapping you during a real life situation. At least that's what I like. I like the more looking like it was candid, but yet staged at the same time. Anyway, before I get off my soapbox on that. So, legs, that's next down. So your legs/hips area, that's really important too. The position of those is going to change some things. Your legs, just like your hands, are good indications of movement in photos because obviously you have a two-dimensional photo and a three-dimensional body, and if you take that photo, if you're not posed right, it can just look two-dimensional. But when you do a little bit of movement, but obviously you're not going to see the actual movement, but when you see certain positions, it creates the illusion of movement in the photo, which can be very pretty, and I do have some examples of that later on. Also, just like with arms, with the legs, it's going to sound a little inappropriate, but I promise it's PG, keep them separated. And the reason is because your legs, especially if you're pale and sheet white, see-through like me, like when you get your thighs next to each other, which I'm going to use my arms, my thighs, but like they can melt into each other and then you cannot necessarily see what's what, especially depending on the position you're in. And if that's the case, unfortunately that doesn't look so good. So if you kind of give a little bit of negative space in between those, in between the legs, they don't really melt together. Next thing, which is often forgotten as well, is the feet. Don't forget your feet placement. Sometimes this isn't so important depending on where, you know, just like anything below the waist, you know, if you're not getting a shot below the waist, who cares? But sometimes like tipping a toe can be very delicate for a certain delicate character or a flirty character, or having like certain like straight like positioned or like, you know, leg up like doing the like doing the what is that, Captain Morgan, you know, that kind of thing, those positions and like all that kind of stuff, that's going to change the look of your photo. So it is something that you guys should be paying attention to. Sorry if I'm moving stuff around here. So like I told you earlier in the panel, I have taken the opportunity to put some examples together of kind of what I mean. I know it's a little hard just to hear me talking about stuff sometimes and actually put two and two together so you can understand. Not that anybody's dumb or anything, but it's sometimes, I don't know about you guys, but like people can tell me things, which is great, and I am an auditory learner, but I do also learn visually. So if you're that type of learner, this part is for you. So first thing we're going to talk about is this is a picture of me and Luna. We are Pokemon trainers Serena and Iris. I'm from, I think it's Pokemon Black and White, and she is from X and Y, I think it is. She'll kill me if I got that wrong. So I have made all these to where the left photo, which, let me see, this is my left, but I think it might be, no, this will be your guys' left too, I think. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. The left photo is the incorrect or the not as correct one, or the one that could use work, and the right photo is going to be the good photo. So as you can see, that first photo, we look like funkily like positioned. We look really uncomfortable. Luna's hunching funny. I have chin for days because I'm doing this, and like it does not look good, guys. It does not look cute, sister. Nope. So posture's not good, chin's not good. Same exact cosplays and people. Obviously on this right side here, you see that we're separated enough. We're not super like on top of each other. It gives a little bit more of that negative space effect. Her posture and my posture are both better. My chin is pulled up more, and we're away from each other. We don't look uncomfortable. It looks like a much better photo overall. Those photos were from Mouzycat. Then we did a Disney, Apocalypse Disney group. This is a good friend of ours who is one of a plus-size model, Heather. And on the left, you can see she was Peter Pan for this. And on the left, you can see we're kind of missing part of her leg, which can kind of look a little weird. Her eyes are closed, and it doesn't look necessarily the best. And also her arm here, this arm, is kind of like up like this, so it's real squished on top of her body. So it's not the best photo. When you go to this right photo over here, her arms are a little bit more, like I said, negative space. You can see a little bit more of her leg, even though her leg is still like underneath. It's kind of like the way she's positioned is a little bit better. You can also see this arm, or not this arm, it's the other, I don't know. The arm that was on the back side of her, you can see more of that arm now, which makes more sense. Also, you can see her eyes. Her eyes are open, and when she's looking up, she's not doing the, you know, rolling back demon look, but she's looking up and over, so you can see her irises in her eyes, and it just looks like a much better photo overall. Not saying that the other one was bad, it's just this one is better, at least in my opinion. So remember that movement stuff we were talking about earlier that I was going to tell you? This is a good example of the movement being created, even though it's a 2D, you know, object that you're looking at. So this is YomuChan. YomuChan is Belle from our Romp Breaks the Internet photo shoot that we did in January last year. And in this first photo, she's supposed to be walking down the corridor. You know how Belle likes to wander. In this first one, she's kind of stiff, holding the candle. She is looking off, but like, that's really it. Like the standing there with her feet pretty much right next to each other, not necessarily touching. She does have a little bit of thigh gap there, but they're not, like, there's no sense of movement. She just looks like she's standing there like this. Now, in this next photo over here, much, much better. Her legs are positioned, like I said, remember those legs and feet thing that I told you guys about? Her feet and legs are positioned to look like she's been walking. Having her arm back is like the princess, like flowing through the hallway thing. And even though she is just holding this, instead of just holding this out like this, it has movement, like she's like holding it and walking. Though that look changes the photo. They're essentially the same photo, like it's her holding the candlestick walking through the hall, but they're two totally different looks. Like, look at the one on that left side, does not look anywhere as beautiful. Even though it's still beautiful, it doesn't look anything like that right one. That right one is way better positioned or posed or whatever you want to call it. So here's another example of Luna. By the way, that previous photo was from Thomas Ricks or Barking Basset. This is actually a photo I took, or photos I should say I took, and the ones of Heather I think I took as well. This is an example of Luna and I doing a shoot, and Luna being ill-positioned, probably due to my fault. But we tried to do an above shot, and as you can see, she looks kind of hunched over and uncomfortable, and also we completely lose her legs, and her feet are just barely visible. That looks kind of like she's all just one big white ball, and Luna's not a big, white ball. So if you look to the immediate right then, at the right sided photo, you can tell now things are flailed out, the dress is positioned better. You can see both her arms. You can see that she's got the little chin, movement. She's not just looking dead on, but she's looking off to the side like this, but still looking forward, giving a little bit more movement. And then also you can see her feet, and they're positioned with the toe tip down, and her legs. Just looks like a much better overall photo in general. I will tell you guys, one of the most important things too, just when it comes to posing in general, and that's why I wanted to touch on this in this slide, or this presentation, is preparing for your photo shoot. And that's important because most of the time, yeah, you can do hallway shots at cons, but if you're practicing posing or interested in posing, it's because you're going to be spending that money to get some beautiful photos of yourself. So one thing I'm going to tell you too is come to your photo shoot, and before it, knowing what you want to accomplish, how many shots you would like to get, what types of positions you would like to get, what look you would try to get, all those kind of things are going to be very important. And also another thing which I did talk about in my panel with YomuChan earlier today, but in case you didn't see that one with group cosplay, talk to your cosplay photographer. Even though a lot of them are, weebs like we are, some of them are not, or at least not as well versed in some of the newer stuff, or maybe even the older stuff, depending on the generation they come from. But some of them may not know your character, or may not know the reference material. So it's really important for you to have a conversation sometime during the preliminary portion of everything, or even during the shoot too, just to kind of let them know a little bit who your character is about, what they are. Like for me, for example, since I'm being Sabrina, cheerleader Sabrina, I would explain a little bit about the show, like the smallest little cliff notes of it, and say I want to do action shots, I want to look like I'm at a pep rally, that kind of thing. And she's witchy, so, give them that information, so that way if they've never seen Sabrina, never seen Chilling Adventures of Sabrina, don't have Netflix, whatever, then they kind of know what you're looking for without having to sit there and do research themselves. As much as that would be awesome if all photographers came knowing exactly what you want, and some of them will do research on their own when you tell them, when you book the shoot, but some of them won't, and it's honestly not their job to do that. It's your job to come prepared to do that. Speaking of things that you need to pay attention to, is you need to pay attention to that time. I will tell you, I have been part, and we talked about this in our panel earlier, I have been part of many groups where things have run over, and I will tell you, you have to do your best to try to be respectful of the photographer's time, and to make sure that you're getting things done in a timely manner. Not only because you want to get the stuff that you have planned done, so that way you actually get what you wanted out of the photo shoot, but you need to understand, especially if you're getting your photography photos done at if you're getting your cosplay photography done at a convention, then you're going to want to make sure that, you're especially more timely, because they probably have people booked before you and after you. So if you show up early and you're interrupting that shoot, that's a problem. If you show up late, then you just wasted a whole bunch of your time, and if they are nice enough to let you, then you could be cutting into another client's time, and that's just kind of rude. Like I told you at the very beginning of the panel, make sure you have a friend with you. Not only is that good for safety, which is something we won't talk about here, but that's good for safety, but also your friend can see things that maybe you can't see, or maybe you haven't thought of, or maybe the photographer doesn't know to correct. For example, let me think of something. Okay, so for Naraku, and I'm going to butcher it. So Naraku wears his kimono. There's a certain way, either this or this, and I can't remember off the top, but there's a certain way that it's folded, and it's folded like that because one of them means it's used for the dead people, and then one is used for living people. So in photos, it may not be a huge deal. There's other things that are more standout-ish, but like maybe a necklace out of place or something like that, but that's a little bit more obvious to a photographer. But like character positioning of things, like my headband, stuff like that, your friend may notice more. Like if this was, like if my hair, like if this had fallen off, my photographer may not know that this is supposed to be on my head. But my friend will be like, oh, where's your headband? You know, that kind of thing. So they can pay attention to that kind of stuff. Make sure that you got your stuff on point. Last minute tips and tricks I'm going to talk to you guys about. So I will tell you that the variety is the real spice of life. And I say this because I don't know how many photos I see. Luckily not as much anymore, but like especially when I used to start cosplaying, of people like where they're basically doing the same 3 poses for like 18 photos. That's fine if you really like that pose, but if you just spent, you know, like a good $100-something bucks on cosplay photography and stuff like that, you definitely want to make sure that you're getting the most bang for your buck. So the last thing you want to do is look like this in all 18 photos. So what I recommend is changing things up, even if it's just slight little adjustments, you know, that's going to make a huge difference in your photos. I didn't really move all that much, but they look like, if you saw those photos, they don't look like the same photo. So that's definitely good. Another thing is you need to know when it comes to action poses, if you plan on doing action poses, and by action poses I mean ones where you're like jumping or running or swinging something and you want like actual like movement almost in the photos, be patient. Those ones, especially because of just the nature of them in general, it's hard to get those right the first time. You would have to do several practice, you know, things for that. So if that is something you want to incorporate into your shoot, definitely have that conversation with your photographer ahead of time. Another thing I want to talk to you about, which I touched on a little bit earlier, is pay attention to how masculine or feminine you want your characters to be. If you have a hyper, like mega masculine character, you know, they definitely are more confident. They tend to be, you know, chest out, like puffed up, like proud. That was the most stupid thing I've ever done in my life. They tend to give off that confident flair. While if you're doing a more delicate or more feminine character, they would be softer. Hand movements would be softer. You wouldn't want, you know, or see, even though like this is me gracing my face with my hand, like this does not look soft or feminine. This does. This does. This does. You see what I'm saying? Like just little things like that, something you're going to want to pay attention to. Now is time, which I normally ask you guys for questions. I will tell you right now, not only can you ask me questions in the YouTube chat, which occurs during this as it's live. I apologize if you're watching this after it's live. The chat will no longer be there, but you can leave comments in the section below. But there's also, if you are attending this panel during STOCC 2020, there is a Discord chat, which if you look in our schedule, which will be released obviously by the time you guys watch this stuff, there will be a Discord room which will have the chat that I will be in while this is going on live to answer any questions or comments that you guys have, to make sure that I help you all out as much as possible. I do want to take this opportunity to thank you guys so much for coming to the panel. It really means a lot to me, and I'm glad that I was able to do something to help entertain the masses while we're all stuck at home and like we're seeing the same 4 walls pretty much every day. I definitely want to tell you guys I am a nurse in real life. And I want to tell you all, wash your hands, stay home if you can, stay safe, encourage your family to do the same. It's definitely, you know, something really near and dear to my heart, just being a nurse and a mom and, you know, a human being on this earth. We should all be concerned about that stuff. I also want to take an opportunity after this panel to thank all the cosplayers and photographers that were part of this panel and the photos that I shared in the panel. Another shout out to Cypher Noir, who did help with some of the content on this from previously. I definitely, you know, am very grateful to have the group of friends that I have, and, you know, I have my Fab Five, you know, my La Quinta, my Luna, my Mouzycat, and my YomuChan. I love those girls, and got Possum, Cypher Noir. I love you guys so much, and I definitely could not have done all this stuff without you guys, and I want to thank you so much for helping make this special and helping make this something real instead of just like some, you know, funky idea that I had that now I like don't know how to handle myself by doing. So again, thank you guys so much for attending. If you have any other questions or concerns, please check out our website at www.curvykittycosplay.com. on there. If you're wanting to know about the STOCC 2020 page and it's still available, that will be up at the top of the website for you to click and it'll bring you to the home page. If not, please feel free to do some, looking around at all the stuff that we have on the website. And of course, if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, you can message us directly on Facebook, or you can also email us at curvykittycosplay@gmail.com. Thank you guys so much. I had a great time. You guys enjoy the rest of your convention, and I will see hopefully some of you all tonight later on for the What the Girls Do After Dark panel that me and the Fab Five are doing all together. So I will see you soon. Bye. Hello everybody, my name is RenChan and welcome to the posing panel. I am so happy to hear your Make sure you're in focus, bitch. Make sure you're in focus. Look, I have visitors.
You're gonna need a professional microphone if you want to do that again.
Okay guys, like for real, like I need to finish filming this panel. You need to go.
You have it in your hands.
Why are you in here?
Because you've got a baby.
Why do my children insist on being in here when I'm trying to do stuff for the love of God? I love you, but please, Jesus, give me a break.
Look, you haven't seen this little man in over 2 hours.
I know, 'cause I'm trying